Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to talk about comics that I don't think that you should buy. And this is not a criticism of the books themselves. It is more a criticism of the time at which you might choose to purchase these books, with one exception. And it is this one that is on the screen. I do not think you should buy this one. I'm going to just be completely honest because the connection that is being made, I don't fully understand. And I would wait for a lot more information before I fork over any of my hard-earned money on She-Hulk issue number 3. This book right here was written by Dan Slott and has nothing to do with She-Hulk. It has everything to do with Spider-Boy 2, who has become a little bit of a hot character as of late. There is a character in this book, She-Hulk issue number 3, named Bailey Briggs. And we now know that Spider-Boy 2's name is Bailey Briggs. But here's the thing. The version of Bailey Briggs that is actually shown in this comic is a ghost. He's a guy who dies in the issue and then is resurrected by the Sorcerer Supreme as a ghost. The actual Bailey Briggs, that is the Superboy 2, is like 10 years old or 9 years old or something like that. The connection between the two is uncertain. They have the same name. Yes, they both have red hair. Yes, they are both written by Dan Slott or created by Dan Slott. But beyond that, I don't see what any of this has to do with this actual comic. Again, the great thing here, however, is that there are not a whole lot of copies of this book on the census. I mean, there are 20 total on the census, including a perfect 10. There is a perfect 10 on here, 14 9.8s, and then 3 9.6s, and a couple of signature series here as well. But you can see, again, not a ton of stuff that is here. I'm not going to dig into this one because, honestly, I just don't think that people should pick this book up. And it doesn't matter whether it's raw or graded. I would say, you may want to wait to see how this pans out, to see if is there some there. I totally butchered that, but you get my point. She-Hulk number 3, I would not necessarily pick that one up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. And this is one that I've mentioned in another video, completely on a different topic, but I alluded to the fact that I may come back and revisit this one. This is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 4. This is the first appearance of Silk, aka Cindy Moon. In this book, along with so many other spider-related characters, are hot right now. They are hot right now, and this book also, I think, has benefited a little bit from the lift with all the attention on the Miles Morales Across the Spider-Verse movie. I think there's a lot of attention being cast here. I think the possibility of Sony eventually introducing the Cindy Moon series that they've been talking about for quite some time is part of the reason why there is some interest in this book. Interestingly enough, there are 8,400 universal copies, 9,400 total. There is one perfect 10 on here, 11 9.9s, which is a little shocking, and then a 6191 of the 9.8, and the 9.8 has a 30-day average value of $208, which is a little higher than the 90-day, right? Little interest being shown towards this book. There's a little bit of a blip, but not yet where it was a year ago at $228. But let's go ahead and click on this thing. And again, we are using Go Collect for a lot of this data. They have the great charts, these graphical charts that I absolutely love. But you can see how this book is performing. Back in May of 2021, this book was going for $433, and then it had a nice little fall off to where it is now with an average price of $208. The most recent sale was $215. The one before that, $225. So again, you can see a little bit of a dip there, right? The book was going for high hundreds, and then it jumped up a little bit there. Part of the reason why I do not suggest this book is partly because of, again, more interest being directed towards a book means that book is going to be red ocean, right? It means that there's a lot more competition, a lot more focus on that book. That is going to drive prices up. That is not the time to purchase books. The other reason why I don't recommend this book is because of the census. For the 9.8, 73.1% of the total books that are graded are a 9.8. Comes down to supply and demand. There is ample supply, 6,191 9.8s. The supply is there. The question is there enough demand? I think there is some demand, but is it enough to push the value higher? Is it enough to sustain the value long term after some of the hotness goes away? I don't think so. I don't think so. And so I personally would hold off picking this book up. If you happen to be a big Cindy Moon fan, more than likely you already have this book, right? But if you are thinking about buying it because you think that there's some possibility of some things happening, you want to dig into the data, you want to dig into the numbers, and you want to make a more informed decision about how you are spending your money. So another example that I want to look at is one that we've examined before. This is a book that we've spoken about before. I literally, in the last video that was released in this series, advised people not to pick this book up. And there were comments in the comment section where people were like, this is a great book. This is a good book. This is $1,000 book, easy breezy. They were like, it is $1,000 book. And at the time that I did that video, this book was at a 9.8, was going for $1,059. $1,059. So the question is, how is this book performing? As evidenced by me doing this video and revisiting it, you can probably assume it hasn't done well. So at the time that I released this video was in early June. The last sale at the time of that video was on 6/9 for $1,059. You can see there was a best offer here. I'm guessing it went for north of the $1,000 mark, but south of the 1,500. It went for mid June 1,250. A little bit later in mid-June, 1,275. You had another best offer here that looks to be low. My guess is that it went for less than $1,025. You have one that went for $1,140 here in on June 20th. And June 26th, it was down to $1,000. And then on the 27th of June, this book is now going for $900. And again, yes, anytime there is something that happens out there, a movie, a TV show, all that kind of stuff, a lot of interest being directed towards books, the book becomes hot. That drives up the value and drives up the price, but it typically does not last long. And potentially that is what we are seeing right now, is this book actually sliding lower. And will it go lower than 900? Will it go to 800? Only time will tell. We always get this data in hindsight. So we don't really know what books are selling for today, probably for a week or so, if not longer. Only time will tell what will happen with this book. But I would definitely, again, I personally would not buy this book because of that. But then over here, look, 50% of the graded books are a 9.8. Again, supply and demand. Is there enough supply? I'm sorry, is there enough demand that will allow this book to continue to climb or be sustained after all of the hotness goes away? If the last sale is any indication, the answer would be no. And again, this is not a criticism of this character. People love Gwen Stacy. They love the original, and they love the Spider-Woman version of her, the Ghost Spider, whatever you want to call her. This is not a criticism. It is about being smart with where, how, and when you choose to spend your hard-earned money. All right, so the last book that we are going to look at is another great book. Another great book, but again, I personally would not pick this book up right now. This is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 39. This book is the first work by the legendary John Romita Sr. on Amazing Spider-Man. I personally feel like he is best known for his work on Amazing Spider-Man. Talented artist, did some amazing stuff for Amazing Spider-Man. This is the very first book that he worked on, first art for this title, and he passed away. He passed away, I believe, on June 12th. And if you guys know, again, when something happens out there, it has an impact potentially on comics. And what we see as we start to look at the values of these comics in the last 30 days, there has been a noticeable uptick in what this book is going for as a result of John Romita passing on. And in just about every single instance where there was a sale in the 30-day recent period that is after his passing, the value has gone up. And you can definitely see it here with the 9.8. No surprise there, but maybe it's because it's a 9.8 and there are only 10 of them out there. But you see it again here at the 9.4. It is a little bit higher. No, actually, it's lower. It's lower. But let's dig into that one. Let's dig into that because I think, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one I think where there's a little bit of interesting data. So this book in December of 2022 was going for $8,400. That's like a lifetime ago, right? That's like a lifetime ago. And again, by the time you got to the very next day, that very same book was going for a lot less. But if you back up in November, it was going for $3,840. $3,840 is what that book actually went for. $4,300 back in again mid-November 2022. But then you look at the most recent sale. The most recent sale is indeed higher. It is indeed higher if you throw out the one sale here that happened on Heritage at the end of 2022. This book, not a whole lot of copies out there, clearly not a whole lot of sales. I would say that this book too is up as a result of his passing. The book sold on 6/25. He passed away on 6/12. So that was one idea I want to throw out there. So my bad for forgetting that data point. But as you go down the list, you can see here the 8.5 is up versus the 1 year. The 7.5 is actually down. That is that the only one? No, it's up for the 30-day. I'm sorry, the 90-day. It's up for the 90-day, no doubt there. Down for the year. The 7.0, I think the 7.0 is the one that kind of sort of bucks the trend, but that's because there has not been a sale of that comic since his passing. So that's the one that kind of bucks the trend, holds true a little bit here for the 6.5. And again, as you go down the list, you basically see that there is a lift. There is a lift there as a result of his passing. John Romita, super talented artist, no doubt about it. The books that he worked on, fantastic books. It's a question of timing. It is a question of timing. I would definitely wait before picking up his books because I think that some of them are definitely up as a result of what has happened. But with that said, we're going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch another installment of Don't Buy These Books. My hope is that even if these aren't books that you are specifically looking at, there is maybe a thought or a method to this that you can apply to your actual situation. At least that is my hope. If you enjoyed this video, I definitely want to encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel for some reason or another, I want to encourage you to do so now. And if you need to reach out to me, you can do that on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yo, should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan. Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms of pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You fly and we waiting. Indian style and the gold.